G'day, ZiggyD here, and welcome back to Monday Musings, the show where I ramble for 10 to 15 minutes and occasionally you guys get something out of it. I'm actually recording it on Monday this week. Huzzah, huzzah. So, the topic for my musings this week is the future. Basically, I've been on a massive futurology binge lately. I've just been reading about a bunch of different future theory and tech and watching different shows and reading different books. One book I'm reading at the moment is named Accelerando, and it's pretty awesome. A very interesting look at a lot of possible outcomes for the future, a lot of the way things will go just before, it's set in this time just before singularity, essentially, which is where processing power of computers starts to exceed the processing power of humans. It's kind of that point, but it's set just in before that, and there's a lot of interesting societal stuff that's going on, different tech stuff, and a lot of moral and questions, things that are raised in the book. Very interesting. I recommend checking out. Maybe I'll link it in the description below. But the specific topic that I want to muse on this week, because there's tons of different topics I could talk about when it comes to like futurology and talking about the future. But the thing I want to talk about this week is what comes after capitalism, or how do we progress on from capitalism? Because it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily the be all and end all that money will continue to dictate everything forever. We did function before money, and then progressed on to money as a system of making things work, as in giving things value and helping to facilitate barter and trade. But in the future, maybe money won't be the main thing that we go for. And this is an interesting thing for me to wrap my head around as well, because I am a studied essential economist, marketer, and manager. I studied marketing and management at university. I did a ton of economy. I'm a pretty hardcore capitalist myself. I've before I started doing this YouTube thing, my main thing was I want to be a manager of a retail place, and I want to market stuff, and I want to make lots of money and all that jazz. But the more and more I think about the future and things like that, I'm starting to realize different things are important. But anyway, let's stay on topic. Now, I think core to understanding this musings, or to you guys getting anything from this musings, is to have a bit of a crash course in the ideas behind this. Now, if you guys are avid readers on future tech and theory and stuff like that, you guys are probably already familiar with a lot of this, but I'll just give a basic overview of a few essential ideas to know. The first idea is post-scarcity, this term of post-scarcity. So firstly, scarcity is the basic and fundamental economic problem that our needs and wants exceed what is available. They exceed resources and what we can produce. So that's we look at something like food. Often we want more food than we can have. We're actually probably at a point now where we could feasibly feed everyone and not have scarcity on food, but there's still scarcity on food. Certain things have reached this post-scarcity state in our current society, however. And post-scarcity is essentially when the raw materials cost nothing or very little to produce something, and the production of something is either not needed, as in it's an unlimited resource, something that can be accessed unlimited, or where it's completely automated and it's done outside of human intervention. So, say in automated factories, everything can be made to order and it costs virtually nothing to do so. Now, as I said, some things are already post-scarcity. Most of those things are information. So, for example, a song by the Bee Gees is probably post-scarcity now. There's no actual scarcity on that song or any basically information that's on the internet, and anyone can access it unlimited, to an almost unlimited extent, and it doesn't deprive anyone else of that resource. However, that said, there are artificial methods of scarcity posted on these things through different copyright things, actually selling information that is unlimited, all that good jazz that's currently going on. That's because money is still important. People still need to make money off the information that they produce and put out online, which is the reason why I have to have ads on my videos so I can continue to earn a living. But maybe in a post-scarcity environment, I would just be able to put up all of my videos, and which is something I've thought about as well, and would probably something I would continue to do even if money wasn't an issue. But continue to put up these videos, and unlimited people could access them, and it wouldn't cost me anything for those people to access them. Anyway, let's move on a bit from that before we get a little bit sidetracked. So as I said, some things are already post-scarcity, and some things will, as we move into the future, overcome the scarcity issue as manufacturing costs reach nothing, so they're completely automated, or in resources costs meet nothing. Now the interesting thing about resources is if we're talking about like raw materials like metal, currently there's still scarcity on that if we're mining that from Earth. However, in the future, if we create things like self-replicating mining factories that go out and simply mine asteroid belts, we essentially overcome scarcity of those resources because the costs of those things, the amount of like tonnage of metal that we could haul back from one asteroid would more than exceed any possible need we have for that metal. So that's what I talk about when I talk about overcoming scarcity in resources, because the costs become negligible when it becomes to that point. So the next thing is, the next idea I think is fundamental to this post-capitalist society is unconditional basic income. Now this is essentially when everyone, without condition as the name suggests, is provided enough income to live above the poverty line, essentially. I don't exactly know where that point would feasibly be, what would actually be needed to take people off of reliance on jobs to have money. But basically, no matter what, everyone, they don't have to justify their existence. Everyone is provided the money they need to buy the things they need, some of the things they want, and, you know, be able to put food on their plates and have a house around them. So that's what unconditional basic income is. It's generally paid for by replacing the cost, at least the theory and the studies about this, this unconditional basic income is paid for by replacing the costs of the current social welfare system, which is hilarious. I find that idea hilarious, that the amount of bureaucracy in the social welfare system, as in if you have to means test all of these people to see whether they qualify to live, then you know, that costs a lot of money to run all that. You got to have these people that do the analysis of whether those people qualify to live. And that costs money, obviously, because you have to employ people to do it. But replacing the social welfare system is probably enough to fund basic income, at least in places where this has been researched, like places like the US and things like that. But I'm not a hardcore economist. I haven't worked that out exactly. Another theory for funding unconditional basic income is instead of funding banks directly, we fund people with this money, and the banks get funded indirectly by when they deposit their money in the banks. Basically, if you give everyone $30K a year, then they go put that money in the bank to look after it, and that funds the banks rather than giving $30K times however many people to the banks directly. So that's another way that's seen to fund it. And yeah, I'm not sure the full implications of that. But this sort of goes hand in hand with that post-scarcity environment. As things become less scarce and cost less, you can essentially, basic income can be more and more feasible, essentially, and probably more actual necessary as well. Because, you know, as you move away from scarcity in certain things, you obviously free up jobs. When we don't have to drive around materials and things, when people don't have to do that, those people don't have jobs anymore. And that's seen as a huge issue at the moment. But in a situation where we have this basic income, we don't need to have those jobs, essentially. And then the next idea is actually one that I find really, really interesting, and it's what motivates people to create, to actually do stuff. If you're giving everyone money and they don't need to earn that much money to actually buy the things they need, then what motivates them to actually create things? Well, there's been tons of research on this, and I watched a really awesome Google talk, but I can't find the link to it. I'll try, and if I do, I'll put it in the description. But essentially, it was on a study that was done about the relationship between financial bonuses, like a monetary bonus to people in a job, in creative jobs specifically, and whether that whether that motivated them to create more and be more efficient and all that jazz. So, what actually did they find motivates people to create things? The first one is autonomy. People love to be able to self-direct what they do. They want to be able to do what they want to do. That's why I do what I want to do. And they love to not have someone standing over their shoulder telling them what to create. Instead, they want to work on things that they think are important. The next one is mastery. We do things and we create things to get better at them. For example, why do we learn to play guitar? Because we enjoy getting better at it generally. There's probably also the mechanical joy of just doing it, but also getting better at guitar is, at least for me, the main motivational reason, and it's the motivational reason for a lot of people. Why do people code when they don't have to for their job? Say they come home from their job that does other stuff, and then they They start coding random things. They create things like the Linux operating system for no monetary reason. They do it because they enjoy the autonomy of it, they're self-directing that, and the mastery of getting better at making these things. And maybe they see that it'll benefit people as well. So what was the thing that doesn't motivate people to create? And it was money. This study I saw uncovered an inverse relationship between the monetary bonus offered to people in like highly creative jobs and how much they actually output. So the more they offered, like the more months worth of pay they offered, the less output these guys had, which is pretty crazy sounding. But it's because it's because of this. We value these other things. Essentially, they found that when you take money away from the person's thoughts, so when a person isn't at their job thinking about how much they need to work to earn a living, then they start to get more creative when they don't have to do that. So that goes hand in hand, obviously, with the unconditional basic income. If you take away the fact that people have to constantly think about how they can earn a living, they instead work on things that they want to work on. They have that autonomy, and they work on things that they enjoy mastering and produce more overall. So the overall idea is that society overall is much more productive when they are allowed to produce whatever they want. But I'll come back to that in a little bit. So with these ideas in mind, here's my musing on how we will progress beyond capitalism, how we will move beyond it, or I guess just the steps. The first steps is that more and more jobs will be overtaken by automation. We're obviously already seeing this. Robots have been doing this for the past 10, 20 years. They've been taking over people's jobs. A recent one that I read about was people saying that in, I think it was like 5 years' time or something, a lot of long-haul trucking will be automated. We've already got, the Google cars that are driving around unmanned. And this will happen for a lot of long-haul trucking and things like that. So a lot of truckers are going to be out of work soon because their jobs are being replaced by automated systems. Obviously, there's a lot of resistance to this sort of thing because there's currently no way for these people to guarantee their income. There's no way for them to justify their existence, as sick as that sounds. Then the next step, I think, is that because of that, and because that's an increasing trend of thing that will continue to happen, for the capitalist reason that it's very cheap to replace people with automated systems, but that's a means to a good end, I think. Unconditional basic income, I think, will start to be seen as more of a necessity, hopefully, or some other similar system. There are alternatives to unconditional basic income. I've read about things like negative income tax, but I'm not too sure about those things. But this seems like a good solid way we could progress. Anyway, that's what I've been using on. So this starts to become seen as more as a necessity. All of the jobs that pay 30k or less a year, all of the mechanical jobs that are just people turning levers and things like that, start to be overtaken by automated systems because it's pretty easy for computers and robots to do that. So we have that unconditional basic income to be able to pay those people. Then a percentage of all those people, admittedly not all of them, will probably start to focus on things they want to focus on. So a lot of people gain autonomy, basically. The fact that they're freed up from earning that basic income, things become less scarce as a lot of their jobs become automated. So all of the truckers are suddenly out of work. However, it's a lot cheaper now to ship stuff around because trucks are pretty much do it by themselves. And that makes a lot less scarcity of resources that are being shipped around and things like that. And obviously that'll be something that spreads throughout many different areas. So this comes back to this idea. Overall, society is a lot more productive when they're allowed to produce what they want to produce whenever they want with whomever they want. For some people, this will be nothing, admittedly. Some people now simply rely on welfare and are happy to do so. And when unconditional basic income becomes a thing, I think a lot of people will just be happy to just rely on that, and that's fine. I actually don't have a problem with that because they're not cheating anyone, really. Like, I don't feel like people should have to justify their existence, but I feel like on the whole people will still continue to do things that benefit society in some way because people want to do things overall. So as I said, for some people this will be nothing. They won't produce anything extra. But a lot of people now that are currently working jobs, maybe think about yourself even. Are you working a job it's kind of arbitrary in an extent, just because you need to be able to earn a certain amount to earn a living. I know I certainly am. I'm doing some work that I would not necessarily autonomy myself towards doing. Oh man, I'm using words terribly today. But this will free those people up towards doing things that they want to do. I have a lot of stuff that I want to produce. I have a lot of things in the gaming realm that I want to make. A lot of different resources I want to give to people. A lot of free information I want to give to people. And you know, if basic income is given to me and I don't have to worry about that, and I can still the capitalism won't go away initially. Money will just become less and less valuable over time, I think. But I would be able to, continue doing what I wanted to do, and I think a lot of people would do the same. And overall, I think people would make things that benefit society a lot more instead of working arbitrary jobs. The idea that I like to think about it, that I think is kind of funny, is that in order to ensure that everyone is able to justify their existence at the moment and able to put food on their plates, we create a lot of jobs for people that are just kind of random. Like, for example, we have inspectors, and then we have inspectors that inspect the inspectors, and then we have guys that create inspecting tools for the inspectors that inspect the inspectors. Because these people need to have jobs so they can earn a living. That's the fundamental idea at the moment. But anyway, that's some of what I've been thinking about lately in terms of all this. It's pretty all over the place, as is Monday Musings in general, and a lot of it sounds like, oh my god, you're a dirty communist. Well, I do think maybe communism had its heart in the right place, but I think it was also fundamentally flawed in that it forgot that people aren't rational. Yeah, people are irrational, but anyway. This is what I think might happen in the future, and it's at least some ideas to muse on. Hopefully it inspires some thought for you guys. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I highly recommend going to Reddit and checking out the subreddit for futurology, r/futurology, or just reading some good books or good stuff on the future. I'll link Accelerando down in the description below, which is also pretty inspiring, and it's been pretty inspiring for me. Anyway, I think the true and interesting discussion for this topic will happen in the comments below. So make a comment there on any of the thoughts, anything you disagree with, any questions you have, because I've been talking to Amy a lot because she's like an awesome outlet for me. even though it can be a bit much for her sometimes when I'm just dumping all this stuff on her. But she often asks me interesting questions that I didn't expect. Like one of her questions, for example, on this topic was, what happens if I want a blender? And that made me actually think through the process of, okay, how is a blender gotten in a post-scarcity society? So I thought the solution to that simply is that the production of blenders is automated. The materials that go into the production of blenders cost basically nothing. I simply go on my computer and order a blender, and it's delivered to me by all automated systems. That's how I think things like that would work in a post-scarcity environment. And it's these questions that get me, that really excite me about this stuff, because it makes me think through these processes. So if you have any questions about this sort of thing, please do ask them in the comments below, because I find it pretty interesting. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this Monday Musings. I think it was a bit longer and a bit different to my other ones as well, but if nothing else, I want to inspire you guys to think about some different topics and maybe think about these problems and how we can move forwards in the future, and what it might mean to live in an environment where money isn't the be-all and end-all, and what you might do as well if you were in that environment where money wasn't an issue for you. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.